that started yet? I don't think it started yet. Everybody click yes.
Mine's
all right, cool.
Recording.
I think we're good now. All right, guys, what's up?
Not a lot. What's going on, guys?
Bloody day.
Well, sub 50K Bitcoin.
We got a lot to talk about. Shit sold off pretty hard. Like a lot of shit, everything, almost everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Options expire tomorrow for like over 5 billion, almost $6 billion worth of options expire tomorrow. So I think that's been a pretty big catalyst as to why all this crazy price action has been happening over the last 5 days.
So
some of our new alts are really kicking butt.
Yeah, what happened to them in the last couple of days?
I think it's at a certain point in time, every single one of them was at least like an ETH in profit. I think maybe not APY. Now, Digg is sitting. Digg's sitting up good. Sentivate is up decent. Value's up. Value, D-Hedge, and Unslashed have kind of came down, but those 5 are still all above where we purchased them last week.
Yeah, everything's red in terms of all the big stuff. So on days like this, like what what happened? A bunch of money flows out. I love days like this. Like I enjoy seeing wreckage. I'm kind of a contrarian when it comes to the general up always, kind of like everything trends up mentality. It does, but like it doesn't go straight. And so you end up having these days or these periods of times where everything gets wrecked. Everything, and it's like, well, what's the purpose of this? How did this happen? I think what ends up happening in the trading world is you end up having a lot of people who are on leverage just get wiped out. But who wiped them out? And like, how does that whole thing happen? Or like, what do you guys think happened here? We might get the storyline over the next period of time, but what happened?
I think there's 2 things, right? I think there's the trend and the market maker who like broke the trend, right? It's like everything's been following that curve slope line, which follows like time weighted average price. And the market maker has been protecting that time weighted average price. And a couple of days ago that slopes line was broken and it was never reclaimed. And so the trend is broken. But the other thing at play is like fundamental. And the fundamental side of it is that they just passed FATFA, just passed the regulation basically saying like if you're using crypto in a non-hosted KYC wallet, like non-KYC wallet, then like you're pretty much doing it for legal activity. And the travel rule applies on all of crypto, including NFTs, and that if you are sending money to an exchange from an unhosted wallet, like our Ethereum wallet, then like when this regulation goes into effect, they're supposed to reject that transaction. So, that's not in the US, that's going to be in Europe, but a lot of people are going to be like playing ball with that, because if you want to do business with them, you gotta comply with that regulation. And we've like sold off hard since that news came out, right? And even in the circles that I run in, like they're trying to attribute the sell off to that, right? To that fundamental. But something like that is known about way in advance by the people with money, right? Like something like that gets sold off pre-announcement. It doesn't get sold off post announcement. And so what I think really is happening here is that this is a major fake out on Bitcoin. Let me show you. Let me share my screen. I think it's a major fake out on Bitcoin because information's asymmetrical, and the people with information would have known about this prior to it happening. So here's where we are right now. But if you go back and look at 2017, I think that where we're at is here. We're either in March or in September, right? Where we've had this big sell off with a come up higher than the sell off, had like a run up and then a dip, and then we came back to the run up, and then we sold off hard. I think we're here, right? Because this would have broke that trend at the time that it was playing out, and then afterwards we went on Bitcoin's final leg. That's also when alt season happened. So I'm looking at this. I'm thinking that like we might come down and retest this high somewhere like in the lower 40s, but then like we could rebound hard, go back up in that trend line, and still make it to like 100K in Q2. But yeah, just this whole move to me just screams manipulation.
Well, we've had a lot of activity. We've had all the corporate stuff. We've had just new buyers come in. It kind of feels like things are cooling off. But then again, like we all know, like you have to have a little bit of trouble before, you got to squeeze people out. You got to separate the weak hands from the strong hands. And the market always tends to kind of do that and reward the people that stuck through it. So I do kind of feel like this is just kind of like a bleed out. You guys think it's going to keep on going from here? I mean, let's place it. Where are we at? Like 52 right now or 53?
I don't know. I mean, I think we could always knife down, but what I'm looking at right here is this volume, right? Like this huge green volume candle, like more than any other, like besides that candle, you take that out of consideration, this green volume candle is bigger than any other volume candle. Like at freaking 53. Okay. Then you got these two red volume candles that are also bigger than all the other volume candles. But look at how small their bodies are comparatively to, like, say, this volume day or this volume day. So, or even here on this volume day, like, look how small these candle bodies are with such big volume. That's a lot of Bitcoin trading hands to somebody who's got the money to buy it here.
Yeah, there's a lot at play. Morgan Stanley announced last week that they're ready to sell it to their high net worth individuals. So, that was kind of a sell the news event, but still super bullish because that investor base has never had access to Bitcoin before. You got ETF news that was just launched today. Fidelity just approved to launch an ETF. To me, the biggest driver was, one, we've had a monumental run up, 15 times from the bottom last year around the same time. Again, in 2017, we had a 20 times run up. And as Bitcoin gets bigger, you rarely get the same magnitude runs. So it seems like a pretty solid place to just cool off, consolidate. I think we've talked about the super cycle before, and Suzu and Three Arrows Capital, and just because we might be in a 100-year bull market or a super cycle, let's just say, doesn't mean that we're not going to have pullbacks. And I think again, a 40% drop from the highs. The local top was around 36. One thing on that note is like, as crypto, as Bitcoin, and specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum mature, options will likely play a larger and larger role in defining market direction. And the term max pain is thrown around often, but max pain, specifically when it comes to options, is a calculable number. Like you can actually like figure out a number that would cause the most pain based off of the volume of all of the calls and puts and the prices that are attached to them. And right now, for this expiry tomorrow, the max pain numbers are around 45K for Bitcoin and about 1100 for ETH. And now that's not to say that these things have to happen, right? We're in a raging bull market, a super cycle, if you will. It doesn't mean those have to hit. And it doesn't even mean that they have to be the bottom. You know, it could still go below, but those are just like contextual numbers that to me kind of act as magnets for the price right now. And so this volatility that we're seeing is I think welcomed. You know, whereas Bitcoin did what's it called? However much from about 15 times from the bottom. What did ETH do? Was it like 20 times if I remember correctly? No, it's even more than that. So yeah, in March they got $80. So 1,600 divided by 80. What is that? 20 times? Yeah, 20 times. So ETH just did 20 times as well. I think a breather makes sense, but that being said, some of these alts look amazing. Like Link and Zcash specifically, those kind of seem like they bounced off support. It's still a little bit too early to tell, just in the last hour, but you and I were talking about that pitchfork a while ago on Link that Josh 33 Moku likes. And right now we bounced off it like to the T, which is beautiful to see. Zcash hit a huge block of support last night, and I'm getting a buy signal on the TD9. And these are all on Bitcoin basis. On a Bitcoin basis, we talked about the ETH wallet and some of our positions over the last week. I think we got in generally at a really great time. We saw some price appreciation rapidly, and then we're seeing a nice pullback now. So just like recapping the entire market, it does seem to be relatively bullish. As in like, oh, we're not about to enter a bear market. If anything, we'll enter some consolidation here for a while. But yeah, overall, I guess the last thing I want to mention is while crypto has sold off, we have seen some pretty tremendous strength from the dollar, the Dixie. So the dollar has actually done pretty well. And, you know, it's kind of against the narrative. You know, you see a lot of the time that's the dollar shit, you know, cash is trash, all that stuff. And what we're seeing right now is the dollar rally a pretty sizable bit. And it is going through this block of resistance that I'm looking at right now. If we can clear 93, right, we're at 92.60, 92.70 right now. If we can clear 93, that's a pretty bullish sign that the dollar would be breaking out, and you know, further downside would be warranted for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Alts are a little bit different, but at least Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I guess where I stand, it wouldn't surprise me to go down a little bit further. I think 36K would be like fucking all in Bitcoin if we get to that level. But yeah, I think as far as alts are concerned, Ethereum doesn't look terrible. Some other alts don't look terrible. And then we got Elon tweeting about DeFi this morning. So So all aboard the DeFi train.
Well, Powerpool, I've never seen a better entry than Powerpool, especially on the Ethereum chart. Like, you know, we've talked about before that, like in crypto, like instead of a 5-wave Wyckoff accumulation, there's a 7-wave Wyckoff accumulation distribution pattern, and Powerpool is about as distributed as it's going to get. I mean, it ain't going to distribute much more. Digg looks amazing, because we're literally at that point to where the price of Digg is almost greater than the price of Bitcoin. And when the price of Digg achieves greater than the price of Bitcoin, you start getting airdrop Digg to your account. So if we were going to pick up some Digg, today would be the perfect day to pick up Digg, because we're literally just going to start getting airdropped based on the amount that we have, and it's going to keep going up because it's higher than Bitcoin, and we'll just keep getting airdrop Digg as long as the price of Digg's higher than Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, all these alts, like, they're all getting close to touching the bottom line of their slope, and it's like if they reverse off the trend, then it's up only, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, this weekend looks like it could be do or die. Like, if you look at Helium, like, Helium is within, 40 cents, 50 cents of it, the baseline of its trend. It's like, if it kisses off that trend and goes up, man, we're bullish the next like 3 months.
Well, I got a question for you guys. So when we have like bloody days like this, we're down, I don't even know what, like 10, 20%, a lot more in some things. Um, like what do you guys, when you look at your phone and you see the market, like what are you guys thinking on days like this? Like what goes through your mind? Were you guys up last night following stuff? Were you guys looking through charts? Were you guys waiting for it to settle? What do you guys do whenever the market takes a shit?
For me, it's all opportunity cost. For me, it's all opportunity cost. Like, I'm thinking about it like, this is like, like, these are expected. We've been here long enough. Days like these are expected. They come a lot less than they used to. And when they do, I just go to my portfolio. I see what's reacted the most. Like, I just like to evaluate like how things reacted, because it gives me the sentiment of the bag holders in those projects. And then I like to make adjustments on my portfolio based on that, right? Like, I generally believe that even things that correct harder will recover. But like, a lot of times those things, like, depending on the project, I may cut that bag altogether on the recovery, or I may double down, right? Because of like how much attention there is on it. And then other things that didn't dump that hard, like, I'm looking for the pump that's coming soon so I can get out of it, right? Because like, whoever's holding that bag is like, I'm not selling. I'm not selling. We got to finish this mission. And so it's just like, those bags, you need to cut bait on the pump, because those guys are ruthless. Like, they ain't got a soul.
Yeah. What about you, Ro? What do you do on days like this, weeks like this?
Last night I was like, oh, everything looks like shit. I'm just gonna go to sleep. so I was like, I don't want. Yeah, I was like, just like, all right, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not gonna watch this go down all night. So that was my reaction. I had a great night's sleep, but no, in general, yeah, a lot of what Tyler says. If things are bad, to be fair, like, this is a I talked about it last week, just if a drop from 50K or from 60K is 36K. So it was always in the cards. But yeah, weather the storm, dollar cost average into some things, specifically Link and Zcash. Those are really two that I really like right now. But yeah, really just like solid projects. This is a discount. This is a discount you're getting, and I think you should buy in. It does seem to me like, again, coming back to the recap I just talked about, was it's almost like this shift forward from 2017 to today, where we have our alts, right, our main portfolio and our trading wallet, but alts to me now are like our F wallet. That's where the true like real opportunity lies. That's like our alts to me back in 2017. Whereas our holdings now are like our real positional, maybe not infrastructure plays, but like these, our trading wallet are all things that are going to be here most likely for a very long time. Whereas our F wallet's like, okay, this might be more. Some of these things will be there for a long time, but some of these are just trades, just trying to
So
flip some F.
you're talking about the market maturing in the last cycle. So like since the last cycle, to where before, if you held Bitcoin, that was kind of like, okay, cool, you were in crypto. And then if you had ETH and some other alts, it was kind of like, okay, you had some other kind of stuff that was like the majors, but not a whole lot. And then the rest was just all speculative. And whereas here, you've got more than just Bitcoin as kind of like the established, okay, you're in crypto, and that's kind of the ETH ecosystem. Whereas everything else, like the derivatives of the ETH ecosystem, like the things built on top, and then kind of like the experimental stuff, is more like alts back then. Is that fair?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, the way I understood it was like, you know, the spectrum has kind of widened, and there's more like participants across all bands, but we're still participating across all bands.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then most of these are just, I'm really just thinking about 2017 and remembering some stuff right now. It's just like the pace of innovation back in 2017 was, I thought, pretty crazy. But now, especially when it comes to DeFi, you have some of the smartest people in the world, Suzu, Andre Cronje, like a bunch of people who are so smart and so involved in DeFi, but who only, one, are aware of a fraction of what's going on in the DeFi, and then two, understand what's going on. Sam Bankman-Friedman was saying, how like people are just building shit and only later understanding how it like fits into the overall ecosystem, and only later, when they mix with other things that people built, are realizing the actual potential of everything. And so it's a super exciting time, and it really confirms the Three Arrows Capital Suzu thesis of like, holy shit, we're at the point where crypto is becoming mainstream. People are using crypto every day, and that will only continue to like gain traction. Yes, there will be swings in terms of price, but in terms of overall user adoption and application layers, there's like some, just to name some of the projects going on, like there's obviously HNT and decentralized networks and providing LoRaWAN networks. There is, I've seen decentralized blockchain-based VPNs, which is pretty powerful. There's decentralized storage. There's decentralized cloud with actual applications. Like there are applications for all of these things beyond just financial services that DeFi is really really taken a bite out of right now. So it's just kind of super interesting to see how the market's maturing. But yeah, especially with some of these micro caps and these ETH wallets, specifically for our ETH wallet, that does seems like trading alts in 2017. Like that's where the true like upside and downside potential is. There it goes both ways. One thing of note, I did want to bring up, and I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this entirely, so maybe I'll just be good to talk about. Sol, especially on the BTC pair, is looking kind of heavy to me. And I think maybe something that's factoring into that is the FTX announcement, naming buying rights to the Miami Heat arena, naming it FTX Arena. I sent out an article.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Through 2040.
That's amazing. That's so great.
And it seems to me like a good, I mean, honestly, like that's, if you ever needed exit liquidity, this would be the time to do it because you're generating so much speculation and excite and hype around FTX. So, and couple that with like, technically Sol does look a little heavy. There would have been a better time to sell than here, candidly. So we don't have to do it by any means, but just something to consider because it does seem like, they've had an amazing run, and this is kind of the cherry on top. But more broadly speaking, I'm still super bullish on Sol because I think NFTT or FTX, FTT, however you want to call it, because I think this is a play into sports betting. Like they are going to try and make their way into not only exchange but sports betting, prediction markets, the whole 9 yards.
Well, you also got to remember they are providing the backing behind BlockFi, and BlockFi.
They're one of several.
Well, no, I'm talking about the liquidity, or am I thinking about BlockFolio? No, I'm thinking about BlockFolio. Which one's the one where you can go and actually trade crypto now?
BlockFolio.
Yeah. So he also provides the back end liquidity to BlockFolio, and he's getting into sports betting, and he was Biden's second largest presidential donor, and his business is based out of Hong Kong. Like the dude's taking over the world.
I mean, he's making a killer play for Ethereum, which is beautiful, which is amazing.
I'm just saying that like Sam reminds me of like Napoleon.
Yeah, I mean, all's fair in the future of the world. That's what's at stake here. So, but no, technically speaking, it did seem like a pretty awesome opportunity to sell. And we've definitely sold off some since the announcement. But I could see us dropping to sub 20,000 sets.
So Elon tweeted earlier today. What did he say? Don't defy DeFi. You can't defy DeFi. Something like that.
Don't defy DeFi.
What's he talking about? Is he just does he just tweet every time he learns something? Or that's kind of what he's putting out there. But he knows all this shit.
Yeah, it's like he's an expert at all this shit.
Is he just kind of bringing the masses along, and kind of being like, hey, because if you were following Elon and you didn't know what he's talking about, you're going to go look into it. You know what I'm saying? Is he doing that? Is DeFi like the next step for he's going to leave Doge alone and kind of just start being like, yo, everybody, hop on DeFi.
So it's the same narrative for me as Sam announcing FTX Arena. it provides great exit liquidity because people are just gonna market buy whatever. So it's scary because I think it's the same play as the thing that I think Sam's doing. However, it's Elon, and part of me wants to believe he has retail's back, but I just don't like. I don't know. That's a big belief, that's could be a very tall tale I'm telling myself. So I don't
I mean,
know.
I don't know. I look at Elon and like, look, he's got money. He's not one of these like 24-year-old influencers in crypto Twitter that has bought a bag and is now shilling it because they desperately need you to give them 30% on their ETH position so they can go and buy some other low market cap alt that's probably going to zero, right? Like this is Elon. And if I'm Elon and I make a tweet like that, I haven't like bought DeFi and I'm hoping you pump it. Like I'm signaling not just to you, to regulators around the world, do not mess with DeFi. Quit with this FATFA vast stuff. Don't mess with the future of the finance for the world because you're scared. Like don't defy DeFi. Like I don't see it as him trying to like pump my bags. Like it's kind of like the Doge coin. Like I see it as him saying like, hey, this is a good thing. Like let's protect this.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And in terms of like who he's talking to, it's definitely not like a thing about retail, I think like if you look at it from like retail is a segment because retail compared to what institutional, and all that kind of stuff. Like, but when we're talking about this, we're kind of talking about like it's not really retail because it's not just investors that follow him, right? It's kind of like who follows him. It's kind of like his following or like the like whatever his like everybody has a mob, and I think he's just kind of playing into that, how many million followers does he have? Well, like whatever like mindset that common collective people have, they find something in common and they like what Elon has to offer. And if you have a following like that, you know, you kind of have a responsibility a little bit. And I think he's probably got people, you know, screaming and yelling and trying to get his attention and be like, what do we do here? But he did say he set up Doge mining machines with his kids, a couple months ago, and said it was fun, And you guys saw the Tesla announcement today. Ro, what was it? I think you posted it earlier. Oh, I have it right here. He posted saying you can now buy Tesla with Bitcoin. Tesla is using only internal and open source software and operates Bitcoin nodes directly. Bitcoin paid to Tesla will be retained as Bitcoin, not converted to fiat currency. So what does that mean? Tesla is using only internal and open source software and operates Bitcoin nodes directly. What does that mean? Is he mining Bitcoin? Is that what that means?
If you run a node, you're just like you're just keeping an updated copy and posting transactions.
So why would they
So
need to do
you're
that?
broadcasting transactions. Like think about how our node is taking our Helium nodes are taking the signal from the tabs, and then they're sending it to a node that's in the consensus group, and then the consensus group is mining it to like actually putting it. So he's actually would be submitting the transactions.
So, like, I guess help me understand, like, what is the benefit of that? How does that, like, why is that helpful for Tesla, or why say that? How does that
Because
really help?
well, you're keeping a copy of it, so you're like running a full node. So like you're You're like being the supporter. You're like, it's like yeah, we're keeping everybody else honest because we're running a full node. We're having the work. We're storing the block as it's coming in, and we're also like broadcasting. So like he could have it to where basically if Tesla utilized Bitcoin in the cars, he could have it to where all of Tesla's cars were sending their transactions through his node, and his node is pointing like to a mining pool, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So do you think that what we were talking about is actually going to happen? He's just going to use Bitcoin and not even do it, like, because I mean, it's the whole company. Now you've got it on the balance sheet.
if he's a badass, which he is, then he uses something like Ren instead of
Right.
Bitcoin or something, or he creates his own interoperability layer, which I don't think he's going to do. That'd take too much time. I could see him using Ren. I don't know if he uses. I don't see him being a Lightning Network guy. Like he could be, but I don't see him being a Lightning Network guy. Because like Ren's about to have smart contracts, and so I could see him like gasless smart contracts. So I could see him like having something to where they're like you're wrapping Bitcoin and then utilizing Bitcoin for everything within Tesla, and then unwrapping it out the other end and withdrawing. I mean, that would be cool if he actually utilized Bitcoin within Tesla's system.
That would be so cool, man. I mean, like, because here's the thing, like we were talking about, he's already got everything set up for that. The Tesla system is vertically integrated. They own the superchargers. They sell you the car. They've got everything in house, the repairs, the financing, even the insurance is coming. And then the whole rent your car out. Well, first of all, like buy it, lease it, whatever. But rent out the car's time in this robo-taxi type service. And it's like the whole pitch for the last several years was when that goes live, when autonomous vehicles go live, or autonomous driving gets activated in a lot of vehicles, and it's common, and you don't actually need to drive your own car. You can just be driven around in it. Well, then your car could theoretically drive other people around when it's not driving you around, and you should earn money for that because it's your car. You paid for the investment. Unless you want to lease or some hybrid version of that, which it would essentially pay for itself, you'd have access to a ride share type shared car program where a car could, be used for a lot of people. But the full ecosystem with that would be, you kind of buy a car and then you get credits back, right? You get credits back that you could turn around and use at superchargers for trips. And that whole token use system is best served by crypto and blockchain. The fairness of that system has been proven so many times in the token economics of crypto, that you don't have to be a crypto thing or like um, a blockchain thing to benefit from applying blockchain and or crypto to the economic side of things to power and make more fair things that regular monetary systems can't do. And so within the Tesla system, he's got a monetary system that right now goes through traditional means. When you buy a car, you you can put $100 reservation on your credit card, but you got to pull it out of your bank. You got to go through a financing type thing. It's very traditional, and up until today, right, with Bitcoin being a valid purchase option. But before that, and then anytime you go to a supercharger and you charge up, you put it on your credit card. Well, it's like, well, if I wanted to just like drive around for free, I should just be able to give other people rides, and rent out my Tesla for that. And essentially, they'd be subsidizing. And so, a closed ecosystem that was open, so people could bring their own money in. Well, it's already open and it's already closed, but it's not integrated. And you could do that very easily with applying a crypto. And so we threw around, okay, could that be Doge? Is that why he's pumping Doge? Because he's going to incorporate, Doge or some other crypto. But I mean, putting the integration in it for Bitcoin is badass. Um, Sticking with the OG currency, but I mean, arguably he should probably be probably be going the Ethereum route, don't you think? I mean, just from the ability to build with it.
So
Well,
go for it.
So, well, it's going on the Ethereum route, which is, I mean, if you want to keep something on topic, I'll let you go. But I want to talk about layer twos and Ethereum and layer ones, like transition. So if you've got something relevant, go ahead.
Okay, the only thing I'm going to add, and it's a little off topic as well, is why did Elon pick Dogecoin? You know, and I thought about this relatively a lot. The only reason I would say he did is because it hasn't been developed for years. It's stagnant. So it's like sushi swap, like you have this code that's just laying out there. It's one of the most decentralized coins out there because anybody who's ever been in crypto probably has messed around with Doge a little bit. Maybe it's different now, but like it's one of the most decentralized currencies and nobody's been developing it. So you can develop it with anything. You can make it whatever as long as you understand the base code. And so let's say he does that with Doge. Why can't you do that with Bitcoin then? Bitcoin is a little bit harder, but and I'm not saying it can happen right now. There's still Bitcoin Core and all this stuff, but like, who knows how the future is going to play out? But yeah, and I just listened to a 30-minute podcast with Peter Thiel, and I thought that was really, really fascinating as well. Some of the topics he brings up. But anyway, back to you, Tyler.
Well,
that's my point.
To comment on that, like I'm a believer that Elon is not Satoshi, and neither is Peter Thiel, but they were deeply involved in the early phases, right? And PayPal and what they were trying to accomplish at PayPal and what Bitcoin accomplished, they're very simpatico. Also, in the early days, you have Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. Their biggest disagreement was the language that PayPal should be written in, and Bitcoin's written in the language that Elon wanted it written in, which is C. And I believe Satoshi is the guy that's in jail. Satoshi Paul LaRue or whatever, Salachi. I believe him and Hal Finney did it, but I believe that Elon was there, right? And like, and the thing is I think that what the world is trying to set Elon up for, I think they're going to try to put him in that Satoshi role. I think they're going to cast him there. I think they're going to like build this shroud, this vague shroud of mist like around Elon and Satoshi. And I think that because of that, he's never going to really do anything with it. Like he's not going to develop on it. He's not going to build on it. And he's going to try to encourage other people to build on it. And I think him building on Doge is like the signal of like, I'm Satoshi, right? Like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to build on it and it's worthless. But what I don't want to happen, what I think might happen is that I think that he's going to signal that he's going to create a new currency. He's going to airdrop it to Doge holders, but you got a KYC to get it. And he's going to give people the opportunity to buy Doge while it's super cheap. But like the trade-off is you're going to KYC and send your Doge to him, and it's going to be like locked up. Like
I don't think he cares about KYC at all.
Well, like I think he's trying to disincentivize the Doge whales. Like if you want to still be a whale, then you got a KYC.
I see what you're saying.
You're going to take a cut, right? Because you're going to have to pay taxes. You're going to take a cut. You're not going to be nearly as influential in this ecosystem.
All right, I hear you.
I don't know. It's just a wild conspiracy there. Like,
yeah, I feel like
out of my own wrinkly brain.
So like I just feel like that's very high level, or like actually that's very deep, like in the weeds. Like, how many I've been in crypto for like however long, and the number of airdrops that I participated in is very small. So
You
just to
missed out,
get,
bro. I did
I know,
too. But these people that have done airdrops have made more
oh
money than
yeah,
we have.
no, totally agree. But like, like to get everybody to participate in a Doge airdrop, and the number of coins that were going to be just not claimed
Think
ever.
about
I
the
don't know.
meme of Elon giving the world UBI.
Oh man, there it
Because
is.
if he doesn't do it, like if here's the problem is if he doesn't do it, like Bill Gates has already got all these patents through Microsoft for all these different cryptocurrencies, and then Zuckerberg's coming out with Libra, which they've rebranded it and just to a different name now. But it's like Elon's got to do something, or he's leaving the fate of the world in the hands of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. Which, I mean, isn't he the one that basically said that Bill Gates wasn't that smart? Like, when he the one that was just like,
Yeah, somebody asked him like what he thought of Bill Gates when they met, and I think he said he wasn't that impressed. But I think like Elon's not really worried about Bill Gates. I think Elon has his sights set on Jeff Bezos. I think that's kind of like his arch.
dude, I bet you Mark Zuckerberg's
nemesis.
the one that keeps him up at night.
How come none of the other billionaires talk about Mark Zuckerberg?
Because they're afraid of him.
Are they
Like,
afraid of him?
like I don't know if you probably don't keep up with Project Veritas, but they keep pretty high level leaks from Facebook, and one of the guy basically raised a good point that there have been no king in the history of the world that have been in control of over 3 billion people, but Mark Zuckerberg is.
Yeah, but then I mean, like in many ways, but a lot of these ecosystems could kind of say something like take Amazon for example. Like think about the number of households, the number of people, and then like through all their other services.
That's nothing compared to Facebook, though, man.
Well, then think about the CCP.
That's nothing compared to Facebook. Facebook's got more. 3+ billion. China's not 3 billion people.
Yeah, but
All
like,
I'm saying is I get where you're coming from, and we're just arguing who we think is the most powerful person in the world. And for me, it's like, okay, come back to Facebook and whatever. Peter Thiel is the first person that funded Facebook. Peter Thiel is also the co-founder of Palantir. Peter Thiel co-founded PayPal and worked with it's just like
Peter Thiel is also a homosexual that funded Trump.
true, exactly. But like it's all part it's all part of this. Like he is this evil billionaire that's like he's like no, well, I don't know if he's evil or not, but like he is he's like the Dr. Evil of our time.
I think Peter Thiel's blessed, right? Like I think Peter Thiel is blessed. Like I think that God and the universe just shine on him.
Well, I like the Dr. Evil comparison. Because Dr. Evil's not really evil. He's just like, yeah, I'll do whatever I want. And I think that's what Peter Thiel does. It's just like, the whole Gawker thing was hilarious.
Yeah,
and then didn't he like help Hulk Hogan get out of that legal? Like that's just the whole thing is like, how come nobody talks about him? Oh, because everybody's scared of him too.
Everybody's legitimately scared of him.
Well, just like so like Mark Zuckerberg can silence you on the internet. Peter Thiel could have you killed and nobody would ever know about it. Like by an artificial intelligence, like your computer camera could just shock you right now. And like Peter Thiel would be the one that did that.
Laser eyes just everywhere. Seriously though, like he's like Palantir is the most like you just know they're up to no good. They're collecting mass amounts of data and running it through algorithms to protect you, like straight up from like Minority Report style, like predict who is most likely commit crimes, sort of stuff.
What
So
if Palantir is his way of extracting money out of the Saudis?
I don't even know where to begin with that. But no, like just to be able to have that technology. No, he's to me clearly working on the most innovative, pushing the most edge of the industries that he's taking part in. And you know he's founded Ethereum, or he funded Ethereum, I should say. BlockFi, all of everything.
Our baby RSR, which is right now probably one of the most valuable projects in all of crypto because they're serving a real use case.
Yeah, those real use case crypto projects are just awesome, aren't they?
Yeah. Speaking of that, I was actually just talking to my wife, and I was like, "What do you want to know about crypto? Like, I asked her, what should we talk about on this call?"
She asked you how thick the thick Pikachu was?
No, I didn't tell her about thick Pikachu.
But that would be my first crypto question if I was in no corner.
Oh, she knows she's got coins. She knows her shit now. Anyway, she was asking like, one, what are some of the real use case, like real world use case scenarios for crypto? And she knows some for sure, but she's like, what are they? And then two, why do they matter to me? Which I thought was a much more interesting question, specifically from like your normie viewer. Like, why do they matter? And so I figured I'd pose that to you guys. Like, how can we convince more people to buy crypto or like get into crypto, be interested in that?
I think that's a hard. I think like so. I battle with that, and I think what I came to is that like you have to get people to understand money, not just fiat, but just like the concept of money in general, and then like once you get them understanding money as energy instead of just like some physical pile of asset, like, and then you start explaining like that with blockchain, not only like do you have full control of that energy, but you can store it and you can make sure like that the scarcity of it stays, you can protect it from inflation. Like you've got it, like that's yours versus like gold where they can just keep extracting more fiat. It's like it's an uphill battle, right? Because it's like people are like, from what I can tell, people don't care about fiat. Like they're like actually understanding it. People only care about using it. And so when it comes to crypto, they only care about using it. And so it's like a waste of time trying to convince people to use it. You're better off trying to convince people it's a Ponzi scheme, invest in it, you're going to get rich, because like the use cases are going to come. The uses are going to get built. Then when people use it and they've made money from holding it, they're going to evangelize, and they're going to show people. But like just trying to like be like, from what I've felt, from what I've seen, I've won more people over by saying, I don't need to convince you. Like I don't need to argue with you. Like, you don't need to like. I don't understand why you're so upset with how I spend my money. Like, why does it matter to you? You know, like I feel like that's the better conversation to have, is to get them into their frustration and to get them like really getting into their own answers. Because like from what I found is trying to like give the answer to somebody, they just want to fight. They just want to argue. And it's just like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue. It's a Ponzi scheme. Just put your money in and convince somebody else to do it. And if you don't sell and I don't sell and they don't sell, then one day we'll be able to use it and we'll all be rich.
Yeah.
Look what happened with GameStop, right? Like Wall Street bets, baby. Like no sale, diamond hands. It's just like, that's so much easier for people to understand. But like on that same note, my wife, who does a good job like explaining it to people, never really has like talked to me about crypto, but she comes to me the other night and said, "What is this?" one of my
Was it the,
Instagram influencers showed me this.
was it
And I was
Theta
like, what
coin?
is this? And I was like, what? And I looked at it. She said that she doesn't have to do anything and she's getting paid to stay at home. Like she doesn't even care about her influencer money anymore because she's just making crypto. And I was like, what is this? And she showed me, and it's like some Tron airdrop bot that like is just like this. And it's just like my wife, like, she didn't know what Tron was. But like just the idea of having like that money just deposit, like that just like super piqued her interest of like, what is this? So I guess like going to back to your question, I think DeFi, showing people that you can put money in to a US dollar stable coin and then go and deposit that US dollar stable coin into a project that you think looks cool. And that from depositing that US dollar stable coin, you're going to yield this token as interest, and that it could be worth a lot of money one day, or it could be worth nothing. But like you get to join a community and you get to have a whole like new ecosystem to interact with. Like it's like a cult without religion, you know, like so I just feel like that's the easier way. Like get people in, show them DeFi, show them interest, show them that you can make money without doing anything. It's better than just keeping your money in a bank account. You can leave it in stable coins to where you don't have like downside risk. And there's this cool community where you can like make memes and be like some degenerate like internet character. I mean, that may not matter to your wife, but like, I don't know. I just feel like that's
No, I mean she's curious. You know, she sometimes hears us. She's not here right now, but she sometimes hears us talking and asks me some questions about it. But she's also like trying to understand NFTs, and like she asked me, so it's like, is it a picture that you own the rights to? Like she was just kind of curious of the value proposition for NFTs. Um, and like I was talking about Beeple, you know, selling his $69 million artwork. And granted, it's a masterpiece, right? 5,000 pieces, one every day. You know, that's huge. But why is that more valuable than a screenshot of it?
Yeah. Tyler, you're on mute. Tyler, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. So like think about it like designer brands. Like you can go on DHgate and buy a Chinese made knockoff of anything for like 20 something dollars, right? And it looks the same, it's the same colors, it's the same stitch pattern. Oftentimes it's not nearly as comfortable. And you know, the thing is you didn't buy it from the correct manufacturer that's actually doing everything according to the spec. You bought a lookalike. And so the same with like NFTs. Like for this instance, we're talking about art, which NFTs go into like a mortgage contract would be an NFT.
But specifically art. Let's stay on art.
Specifically art, right? Like so you've got the guy that like went and created the piece of art, and then like you've got like he minted that through a contract, and then you receive that contract, and then you have it, right? And it's verifiable that that piece of art was produced from that contract that was made from that producer. Whereas like somebody else that has it, they just essentially went and bought a screenshot, and like the effort that went into their token is just a screenshot, right? And so like they can have it just like you can have a copy of the Mona Lisa, you can have a burned CD, you can have all these things, but like the mimetic value of anything is like from like the original in the original, you know?
Right. And
And
I totally agree with you. And I guess this is where I struggled explaining was like to them, to her, you know, like she's never going to spend $69 million on a piece of art. and like, yeah, she's never going to do that. But from a experience, from like an experiential perspective, like actually experiencing digital art for anybody besides the artist, and maybe collectors or whatever, the actual experience of digital art is the same. The actual experience of the Mona Lisa versus a screenshot of it is different because you're actually witnessing. You have the canvas, you have the paint, you have the brush strokes, like all that.
I see where you're going, and so like the delineation happens between COVID and Generation Z. So like the belief is from all of these economists and people that are examining it is that Gen Z and thereafter are going to live their lives online, and that because of the way society's going with global warming and like all of these different societal and environmental pushes, population reduction, all these things, minimalism in the physical world is going to be a very highly looked upon trait in the future, right? If you live in a small house with not a lot of furniture that was all made from sustainable materials by like that minimalistic lifestyle in the physical world is going to be like very, very, very important. And then as you move over to like proof of stake blockchains that aren't using any power or much power to produce things, then abundance in the online world is going to be like that much more like of a status symbol, right? And so like anybody's going to be able to have a copy of this in their museum, but like the status of having the original is going to like in the online world is going to be even bigger than the status of having the original in the outside world, because in the online world like anybody can have it, but like you paid the money to have the original, like
And
you
and an
pretty much
important
commissioned it.
and an important point is in the physical world, arguably, it is much more difficult to prove authenticity than in the digital world. In the digital world, it's literally as simple as, yeah, that's Picasso's because it's on the blockchain and everybody can see it. Whereas like if you have a Picasso at a museum, neither you nor I nor you are going to be qualified enough to look at two of them and tell the difference because we don't know what we're looking for. But if the blockchain says this is that, that's all the authenticity you need in the digital world. So it's actually easier to prove. So that problem is already solved if you get over that and still consider, something non-fungible or art.
And you got to look at the patronage of the artist, right? So like think about in the future with people who goes and gets a ripoff and then their friends can go and verify that they bought a ripoff and that they didn't actually like spend the money to support that. They didn't spend the 50 cents to own that song in their wallet. They went and like got it through LimeWire, and it's like not only did they like create some type of like illegal activity on the blockchain, but they also make themselves look cheap to all their friends. Like you could have spent 50 cents and gave like, little Boosie 10 cents, right? Like, but you decided that you were too cheap to spend 50 cents, and like you just went and copped it somewhere else and cut little Boosie out of his money. Like you're an asshole.
Yeah, like those are Air Force Ones, but they're like fading to yellow a little bit. Those, like, I don't think you really got real Air Force Ones there. But I also want to say, Ro, like to your earlier question, like what do you tell people? And Tyler touched on some important stuff, but I think we've gone through a phase where it was just Bitcoin, right? In the first days, it was just Bitcoin, and then like there were alternatives with big ideas. But like we were early, and we were early because it was interesting economically, from a business perspective, from an investment perspective. However, we all got into it. Like, we kind of believed in the idea of decentralized money. And to some degree, we had to have a base understanding of how money works. We're all business degree-ish people, like in different uh, categories. I'm finance, accounting. Ro, you're what, finance? And Tyler, you are more like supply chain,
I was
ID,
industrial distribution and marketing.
and marketing. Yeah, ID and marketing. So, you know, we all have a business background. We all we understand money very well. And so for us, it was, you know, the base floor was already kind of in place. And to take a step in understanding towards decentralized money, that wasn't really too large for us. But I think what you're talking about, Ro, is like how do folks that money is not at the top of the way that their, you know, every day operates due to their career or the way that they kind of approach the world, how do you kind of like, how do they benefit from this? And I think in the early days, yeah, you kind of had to pitch it as a investment opportunity. It was it's a great, you know, but like you have to be aware of the fact that, yeah, you want to appreciate and value. And some people, you know, I would approach in the early days. It's like, hey, you should buy Bitcoin. I mean, like, frankly, they just weren't interested in making an investment, right? They weren't at that point in their life, or weren't investing in anything, or just the idea of, hey, you can turn 100 into 200 over time. It's kind of like, well, you know, I've got better use for 100 right now. But you know, I think like that was the kind of the early days. I think now we have some interesting stuff happening, and this is a lot of the DeFi stuff. This is a lot of like the interoperability of like, once you get your money under crypto, you can do so much stuff with it. And like, if somebody asked me like what I can do with it, or like why it's useful to me, I would kind of struggle, you know, and I wouldn't want to say, well, just buy some, you can make a lot of money, because it's really not even about that anymore. You know, it's not really just about that anymore. That will always kind of drive the economics of innovation, the ability to benefit, you know, monetarily from your work and, you know, what you build. But it's kind of like a build it and they will come type of thing, like we were talking about earlier. And that's what you got. And so right now, when I think about like, um, you know, in the early days when everybody had flip phones, early days, it wasn't that long ago, but before the iPhone, you know, and some people kind of took the leap, got the iPhone, and it wasn't that great, you know, but it was cool, touchscreen. But then like the second and the third version of the iPhone, the 3G and then the 3GS. But the 3GS, like if you didn't have an iPhone, you didn't know. But if you did have an iPhone, you knew how awesome it was, and you knew the benefits that it gave you and what it unlocked. But it was really hard to explain it to people. And so you really just had to kind of like show them, or you kind of just had to say, well, here, well, if you get one, you'll understand. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing with people now, is I'm kind of just saying, well, yeah, you know, they're like, why do you mess with crypto? Like, what would be in it for me? What's the use case? Like, why would I care? And it's not really about you can make money now. It's more about, hey, you know, get a little bit, see what you can do. Like, you'll understand, just get some. And it's kind of like what you said, Tyler, like, don't justify like it in terms of like, oh, I don't need you to get it, you know, but it's just like, look, if you try it out, what's the harm? Just spend a little bit. And I feel like that's been working for me in terms of like convincing people to give it a shot and adopt crypto.
I think one thing that like when you're convincing people, not you in particular, but just maybe I'm just talking about me, but when I'm convincing people, like if I'm giving somebody advice or if I'm telling somebody something to do, I'm making the mistake of, like, we've talked about this before, like the knowledge that we have from being in the space as long as we have, even though it's only been like 5-6 years, you got to look at it in terms of like how old the space is. And so like, it's not like we've got 5 years of knowledge over somebody like Seth or over any of our other friends. It's that like, we've got that 5 years plus 1 day. We've got the 5-year percentage of that over that person. 5 years plus 2 days. We got the 5-year percentage portion of that over that person. Right. And it's like, that's exponential. And it's going to take more than 5 years. It's going to take 10 years for new people to like get caught up to the level that we're caught up. I mean, maybe less for the more wrinkly brained. But yeah, it's going to take a long time. And the mistake I make is when I'm trying to tell people and give people advice, I'm giving them advice based on all the knowledge that I have and what I would do right now if I was just like clean slate, no investment, no nothing. Like, what move would I make right now? And what I realize is like that's so ineffective because they've got to take that advice into consideration, and then they usually end up acting on it at the absolute worst time. And I guess where I'm getting on with that is we got to be careful because we're getting at that point in crypto to where once everything goes .com bubble and starts going exponential, we're going to be okay when it crashes. But just like in 2017, a lot of people aren't. And a lot of these things this time, they're not going to make a comeback. Like some of these things will, but a lot of this stuff's going to retrace, and then we'll have a couple Amazons and a couple Googles. But like most of these things this time, they shouldn't make a comeback. Like they shouldn't make a comeback. So I don't know. I'm just like, I almost don't want to talk to anybody about crypto this time because like I would be afraid that like literally I would put somebody in financial ruin if like I give them good advice and then they decide to act on it at the wrong time.
Yeah, I think this is what I am telling my friends is just like dollar cost average into some stuff on Coinbase. You know, just like figure out some stuff you like. Don't go all in, and then hold for like a year. Like just hold for a year. Like you'll experience some highs and lows, and then after a year, you should have a pretty good idea of what you like and what you don't like. Just because by that point, people will have monitored their investment. You know, how do you get involved in something? Or how do you get interested in something? You put a tiny bit of money and you watch it. And so that's kind of what I've been telling my friends. But coming back to the NFTs, I think all your points were valid. But by and large, it seems like unless you are, so there's like the digital trading cards aspect of it that are interesting, but by and large, unless you're like a collector collecting legit art, there's really no need to buy NFTs. You know, like because and like maybe eventually there will be like everybody like NFTs will be ubiquitous, but right now, you know, get on Reddit,
So
you can just screenshot a meme,
let me
and it's not
present
a
the
big
two
deal.
cases, right? The two cases for buying NFTs. One is Jordan Cobain. He paints a good argument, right? That basically it's like buying altcoins. Like when these new generative NFTs come out, to grab up the like when they're all the same price, to grab up the special ones out of that bunch. It's like buying the good ICOs, right? Like you're going to make 10, 20, 30x on your money. You can sell it at any time, no matter if the project's successful or not. But for the most part, you're right. Like just buying NFTs in general, like just buying art right now. You know, the things that I'm buying are AI. No, I'm serious though, right? Like AI generated art as an NFT, right? Like I think it's something that's highly replicable, like as like the concept. Like lots of people can replicate the concept, but I think the people that have the good ideas of what generative art to produce early on with AI as an NFT for a one of one, I think they're going to be rewarded as artificial intelligence becomes more of like what's driving investments of institutions and art becomes more of of a liquid industry, I could see algorithms trying to direct firms to buy paintings done by algorithms based on classical artists who did it early, right? That's just like a speculative thing. And then the other things like the generative NFTs, like I was talking about like buying the ones that are rare, the ones that the algorithms spit out that are super rare. And then the other things is just like ICOs, like buying the greater fool things, like buying the things that are limited amounts that you can grab up early, that you think other people are going to want, that you can flip on them. And when you look at it, like people are overlooking it because you can't just go and buy like $5,000 worth of a coin. It goes up in value. You dump it for 30. You actually have to have a little bit more skill. Like you actually have to pay a little bit more attention to what's selling and who's buying, and then be able to grab the things that you know they're going to want as they drop. So that way you've got somebody to sell it to. And it's so easy to get like a 25, 30x in NFTs where you can't pull that in the regular market right now, but you can pull a 30x on an NFT almost any day.
So I hear you, and I think this is one of those prime examples, specifically with your AI generated art, where it's like maybe legit good advice, but no, don't follow it. Like, just don't, like, other people should not follow this advice, especially if you're new to crypto, because the chances of you're competing with guys like Tyler to identify those situations, and guys like Cobain and Path and all of these guys who are deeply embedded in this NFT market. And for the vast majority of people, I would say what you just said really solidifies my argument. Is like, for the vast majority of people, you have no business buying NFTs. Like, again, with the exception of like NBA Top Shots, you have this really big brand that has adopted what's it called, and those NBA Top Shots are very likely going to be like trading cards, whereas you probably have some most of those cards are going to be worth, maybe they might retain value, they might hold value, but a couple of them will be fucking awesome. CryptoPunks are another
one
one
of the most valuable things. Like CryptoPunks are going to, in the future, CryptoPunks are going to be one of the most valuable assets in the entire world, which blows my mind.
I don't think the most valuable assets in the world. I don't think it's going to be art, so a couple of them will be.
If you really want to, somebody needs to burn one of the aliens. Burn one of the aliens, and whoever's got the other one, that would drive that. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, there's 9 aliens.
Oh, are there 9 of them?
Yeah.
I thought there were only 2. Okay. There's 9 total aliens. Well, yeah, if you've got multiple aliens, you burn one. Bring more value to the entire CryptoPunks ecosystem. Actually, I do think CryptoPunks has an edge because they were like the first one to kind of do that concept. Everything's been copied. That just embeds the CryptoPunks project in stone. But I also think, like, a couple points on NFTs. The whole like digital art thing that's going on right now. The digital art world is colliding with the blockchain stored on a blockchain or public ETH address type of thing. So like this shit right here actually was a good project. And there's going to be some other things that come out too, but like this is the epitome of it all. And like when this digital art pixelated type thing, or like the algorithmic so like computational output of art in whatever capacity, including what you were talking about, Tyler, more classical type stuff and re-renderings and stuff like that. I feel like at some point, like the whole thing is going to just pop, and both things will stay, right? The whole NFT system will continue to go on. The whole digital art system will continue to go on. But right now, they kind of found each other, and we're seeing just like a huge like adoption of value in that. The sustainability, will kind of be determined by people and how the system evolves, but definitely one of the original like one of the OG type of like projects. And I don't know about most valuable thing in the world, but I think like years from now, if you have one of these things, um, it's going to be like, having Bitcoin in the early days. But then again, this is going to go through so much volatility, that, what's the next thing?
It's like it's just the cycles. Playing cards or trading cards, or like, who would have thought Pokemon cards would have seen the price appreciation they saw this year, in large part due to the pandemic. I personally didn't see that, and so but for the last decade, they really haven't been worth that much. Only recently have they appreciated so much in price. And I think, we're combining blockchain or digital assets with art here. And so art has that same sort of cycle where there's long periods of time where it's not worth as much as it's worth. And then you have to capitalize as the owner on saying, hey, oh shit, there's this hype cycle right now. Let's capitalize it. And so, but anyway, thank you guys for entertaining that conversation with regards to like what to tell new people about crypto and why it actually matters to them. And kind of on that last one, it's just the best thing I tell them is that it's the future, and it's, if you at risk of getting left behind, it's worth taking a look, and you can make a lot of money in the process.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that all of the really good arguments for crypto are not good selling points to people who like need to be sold crypto. I mean, I guess that's like it's almost like the sickness of society.
Crypto?
But sorry, weird transition. But yeah, I wanted to talk about layer twos and other layer ones. So everybody's like hopping on the big layer two train, especially because Uniswap V3 came out and they announced that they're going to be utilizing Optimism, and Optimism as a layer two for like settling trades. And I've just been in chats with some really smart people, and what everybody seems to think that is even more heavily into the space than I am is that layer twos are like a fad, and that like it's just like getting hype right now and people are like hyping it up, but for the most part they're not real. That layer two, like if we just move things to layer two, then it's going to cause just a different set of problems. And that like this optimism, like people who are development savvy, who have been on calls with the optimism team, that they leave with more questions than answers to the like before they got on the call. And some of the drawbacks of optimism are like 7-day withdrawal periods. Now, MakerDAO is like working on a solution to like make it to where it's instant. But the way I understand it is that that's not delivered yet, and I don't know if there's like a timeline for delivery. But yeah, so the idea is that these layer twos are just hype, and that what about to happen is that like old layer ones, or like layer ones that actually work. So like Avalanche, which we can see the Avalanche is like cranking, Polkadot, Cosmos, you can see what Cardano's done. But like other layer ones are supposed to get some real light, because basically they think that they're going to steal some of the app share from Ethereum, for some of these apps to be able to scale, that they're not going to be able to do it on a layer two. So that seems to be what a lot of people think, is that layer ones are about to have their day, that are not Ethereum. But everybody still seems to believe that Ethereum is going to like keep that market share, so that like layer ones are gonna steal the glory of layer twos, but then Ethereum's gonna come and reclaim that liquidity from those other layer ones when it's ready.
I think that's a really interesting point. From what I've heard is, especially like in the DeFi community, it seems that you would need a mass exodus from whatever these guys are doing on layer one to a specific layer two platform, is the way I've heard it framed. So basically it would be like a winner take all sort of thing, just to make sure that liquidity on that layer two platform is available for all the transactions that need to happen. So that's interesting. I hadn't heard the thought that it would just kind of flake out and there would just be multiple layer one blockchains that needed to focus on scalability in the base layer. Which, if that's the case, then I would say Solana definitely has a pretty high advantage in that arena. That being said, ETH is still right there. With ETH 2.0 coming out, however long from now. But even before then, EIP 1559 coming out later this year. I think really for me, the ETH use cases, they're getting punched right now. They're taking their punches right now. But given how big they are and their contribution to the ecosystem overall historically, they're not going anywhere, especially at least not yet. This year and last year specifically, they introduced some legitimate competitors, right? There is some legitimate competitors to Ethereum now. However, they're still doing so much, and they're still the entire basis of the DeFi ecosystem. Only now are people really getting crowded out just because of gas fees, et cetera. But remove the gas fees, or at least severely cut down the gas fees, you still have a very highly operable system with ETH. And again, EIP 1559 is only months away now. And I guess the last thing on ETH is in terms of our investment. The bigger they are, the harder they are to move. And I think we all see that these alts have value. And I think for ETH, it will be the one that pops off the longest. It'll be the last thing. It'll be like the Apple of the alts. And once Apple or Amazon, once the FANG start to decline, that's the top. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Is like ETH is gonna pump, and it's gonna pump hard, but it's going to be the last because everything else will have pumped, and because they're lighter.
So like I agree that ETH is going to pump. It's going to pump hard. But one thing I want to point out is you think that just because something's bigger, it's harder to move. But we've talked about, the chart is human psychology, and psychology, I think, looks at things in like millions, billions. Like they look at things in like numbers, right? So think about it like when something's under $100 million, like that's the range, right? They're looking at that $100 million as like that price ceiling, right? It's like, then once it breaks 100 million, well, then where's the next top of the range? It's $1 billion, right? Like, because now we've gone outside of that. We've gone to that next denominator. So once something breaks $1 billion, it's like, where's the floor? $1 billion. Where's the next ceiling? $100 million, $10 billion. So I think that like Ethereum's getting to that point to where like it's going to be a lot harder for it to, like, it's got a less of a multiple for it to move to that next ceiling than some of these other new alts that have just broke $1 billion to get to like 10 billion. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? It's like Ethereum running to what it ran to last time. There's no rhyme or reason. Like it shouldn't have ran to $600. Like it should have went to $40 and should have like $40 should have been the top. But it just like kept going. And I think that's like what we could see with some of these things, like some of these layer ones that are in the low $1 billion market cap, like $1 to $3 billion, $5 billion market cap coins. I think we could see the jump for like a $2 billion market cap coin to a $20 billion market cap coin. Like, I don't think that's too far of a jump.
Well, what's $1 billion? You know, it's not what it used to be a couple months ago.
But it may not even take $1 billion. Well, it may not even take $1 billion to get it there.
Yeah, but you know, and yeah, you're right. And it's like, but whatever, you know, whatever you have going on in crypto, it's underlined by what's going on in fiat systems. We're printing money out the ass. And so that's the denominator here. So it's like there's money flowing in to crypto, but then the denominator is being devalued also. So the magnitudinal effect is hard to calculate there because like the basis was dollars, but your dollars don't have the same, you know, there's more dollars floating out there. What are the implications of that? So I don't know. Then again, there's the whole liquidity thing. The thing that could derail, well, there's probably a lot of things that could derail this cycle, this excitement, this bull run that we are like hopefully just at the beginning of. But one of the things is this liquidity. All this money flowing in. Okay, so all of the fiat money flowing in to crypto. Like, where's money coming from? Like, everybody's got something going on with Robinhood or, you know, whatever. People are trading crypto. Even if it's small amounts of money. Then you have large players like the Tesla conversation and things like that. But then you've got like inter-crypto leverage, right? You've got borrowing without like the regulation. Something's going to be built that can't be sustained whenever things start to, you know, pull out at some point, somehow. In this entire ecosystem, somebody's built something that's not sustainable. And, you know, when the tide goes out, you kind of figure out who's been swimming naked, right? Like Warren Buffett says. And we haven't had the tide go out of DeFi yet. So, you know, we'll see. But I mean, the implications of like leverage bubbles, you know, that could be a pretty catastrophic thing.
Talking about something that's not sustainable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at BlockFi. They just cut their interest rates substantially. So
that's some bullshit.
I believe it.
Yeah, that was.
I believe it. I don't know why, but I believe them.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think we're about to get to the point with DeFi to where people are going to start pushing out products like that, like what I just showed, that are just like, how can you even offer that? Like, there are so many people that are buying Tesla using that service because it's early and you can still do it without, they're like putting their money in, they're getting Bitcoin, they're buying Tesla, buying these Teslas, and then like they don't think they're going to get, they think they're going to be able to get their money back.
Wait, what are you saying?
So like that Alchemac mix that I just sent in. So like the idea is people think that they're like, people are depositing crypto and then taking a loan, and then they are buying these Teslas with Bitcoin. And then the idea is that the interest and the whatever on the loan like takes care of the payments, and eventually it pays itself off, and then you get your collateral back. And so like you basically walk away with your crypto that you put as collateral. You got your Tesla for free, and the interest paid off the loan. And it's like, that's not sustainable.
Yeah, especially if there's an issue with any of these stable coins. You know, if GUSD isn't fully backed, you know, or they end up with a liquidity issue, you know, I mean, you could experience a typical run on the bank situation because, you know, there's no rate. This is like, you know, 100 years ago, you know, more than that. This is like there's no like system in place to protect people, and so it's all super risky if you're doing risky stuff. But the stable coin stuff, it's like with as much money is in stable coins, like if those dollars aren't actually somewhere, well then, you know, the whole thing is a bubble because that's people's basis. You know, that's kind of like saying, okay, well, you know, but I gave you my gold bars. But cool. Well, we got to wrap it up here pretty soon. But I got one question. Maybe like just kind of given the conversation today, leave it on one topic. You know, we're at, I don't know, I don't have my screen up, but yes, I do. So we're at about 51,000 right now. 24 hours, we're down 10%. And I think we probably bled out a little bit before that as well. So, you know, down over 10%. We're down to 51,000 on Bitcoin. Where are we going to be this time next week?
One thing I'm looking at, which is just something that I find interesting, GBTC tracks Bitcoin. Currently, that price is just under 42. So it's tracking to about 42,000 per Bitcoin. That lines up with kind of the max pain scenario for Deribit. I don't know where we're going to be at this time next week. What's the day? It's going to be April, right? Yeah, it'll be April 1st. Oh, so monthly open. Where do we think crypto or Bitcoin is going to be specifically?
You just touched on GBTC though. Supposedly that's the play right now, is long GBTC, but short like current futures. I think that we go and we settle around. I think we go in the 49s, but I don't think we break 48. And then I think that by next week, so what would that be? March the what, or April? What day would that be next week?
April 1st?
April 1st.
April
Would be
1st?
Thursday. Yeah.
I think April 1st, we're around 57, 57, and give me like $1,000 of room on top either side, but around 57.
So you think we're bouncing up? You think we'll be up next week?
Yeah, I think we go into the high 40s, and then we're back up. Yeah.
All within a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we get a bottom this either today or tomorrow. I don't know though. My alternative scenario would be next week or April 1st. That's my hopeful scenario. My alternative scenario is that we're around 46.
Gotcha. I think we go down. I think we start skidding down further. We probably settle here for a little while, let everybody catch their breath, lure in some more money. I think we sell off some more. I think we break 50. Maybe not by next week, but I think this is going to be lower and slonger. Lower and slonger. Yeah, slonger. Slower and longer pain. And I think we're going to bleed out some more. And I could see us going down to 47, but I can't really see us going below that. But yeah, I kind of want to see that happen too, because we have really, really strong hands, particularly right now. We have a strong hand portfolio. We're in it like we are sheltered, fortified, and in it for the long haul. So we can handle pain. And a lot of people, are messing around and doing some stuff that, you can't survive markets like this. You can't stay solvent when the waves are like this. And so, yeah, I'd like to see it kind of pull back a little bit more, because when we start roaring, we're gonna rip higher. And you don't want to miss that ride, right? That's the spaceship ride. So, yeah, I think the rise into the 70s and the 80s potentially. It's close, but we got to shake some more people out. So I think I think that we'll be somewhere between 47 and 50 this time next week.
That's a pretty nuanced answer, I'd say. Yeah, I think I generally agree. I think we're going to keep selling off somewhere around that 45K, 46 ish. Makes a lot of sense. And then if we get a dip, I don't know if this is going to be an extended consolidation. It would make sense if we consolidate for the month of April. If we do that, I could see us going down to this 40, let's just say 43K region, getting a little bouncing up to 50. And then, towards the latter half of April, if it is going to be an extended consolidation, hit 36. That would be a pretty wicked sell-off, max pain sort of thing. That would be a lot of like welcome to crypto to a lot of people who just participated in this last run up. So as far as next week is concerned, this time next week, let's just say I'm going to say we're going to be about where we're at. Let's just say 52K.
Okay, there you have it. We'll see.
Last question, if I could just add, what do you think alts are going to do in that time?
Bleed.
Like, are you talking about alts in general or like a different sector?
I'm talking about like top 50 to 100.
Broader crypto market.
Yeah, not the micro, not our moonbags, like our ETH wallet, but our trading wallet, if you will.
I think we bottom out and start consolidate. Like, I think we bottom out, like kind of like bottom out and then start kind of like consolidating upward, right? Like I think it's like a bottom out and then like it's kind of a slow like accumulation up, like almost like a Grim Reaper. What's that? What is that tool called?
Oh,
Escape?
I know it.
Maybe, but like
Grim Reaper tool.
yeah.
It's Escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
okay.
I think broader crypto markets are just going to continue to bleed, kind of with Bitcoin.
Interesting. I think this is, and maybe this is just the raging bull inside of me, but I think specifically 2017 alts are going to have their day very soon. Like I think, like Litecoin, it's made new lows and it's just an utter piece of shit. But I think it's going to pump. And I think Zcash and Tezos, even all of the shit from 2017, looks pretty solid against BTC.
Yeah, everything's gonna pump at some point. Everything's gonna pump. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up. Good call. I enjoyed it.
It's fun.
Right on. Peace, man.
See you, dude.